Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our spring 2024 financial aid and information session. I am Willie Hardy, Director of Student Support Services, TRIO Student Support Services. We also have with us Ms. Donna Porch, our retention specialist, as well as Ms. Laura Zollicoffer, our student development advisor, and our guest facilitator today, who will be explaining all of the ins and outs of financial aid. Today, Ms. Sharonda Gordon. So we thank Ms. Gordon for being with us today. And without further ado, we will go ahead and jump right into it. Ms. Gordon, if you need to share your screen, you can.
Mhm.
So it's already set for that. So good to go. Okay.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Like Mr. Hardy said, my name is Sharonda Gordon. I work in the financial aid office. I'm a financial aid specialist, and today I'll be conducting a financial aid workshop with you all. The purpose of the financial aid, the SAP that we run, is because we have to check students' satisfactory academic progress. And that's something that we have to look at in the financial aid office to determine whether a student is eligible to remain receiving financial aid, or will financial aid stop for that particular student. And I go more into details about what considers the student to be satisfactory, and suspension warning, and so on. Hold on, move this from up here. All right, so in our office, we monitor the academic progress of a student, and the academic records are reviewed at the end of each semester. So at the end of every semester, we once grades go in, we run the SAP on all students and make sure that they meet the academic policy that we have in the financial aid office. And the policy is that students must maintain a 2.0 GPA or higher in order to continue receiving financial aid. Also, they have to pass a minimum of 67% of their cumulative credit hours that they attempt in order to be eligible for financial aid. They may not exceed the 150% max time frame required for to complete an eligible degree, such as the diploma or certificate program. Like for example, a student program of study requires them to complete 65 credit hours to graduate. So financial aid will only cover up to 97.5 attempted credit hours for that particular student. So what I would say, once you get close to graduation, you may want to continue all the way through and not drop from any classes, because if you drop or withdraw from courses, it could harm your completion percentage. And also you could be close to being maxed out. And so once you're maxed out, which is the 150% max time frame that I'm talking about, you're no longer eligible to receive financial aid until you graduate in a major. And then that may free up credits for us to back off. That way you could continue on and earn a degree. As far as the warning status, if students fail to maintain a financial aid cumulative GPA of at least a 2.0, or if the student earns less than the 6-7% attempted coursework, the student, excuse me, is then placed on a warning status for the next term. So for example, at the end of this semester that ends in May, if we run the SAP report and you you didn't meet the 2.0 requirement, and you made maybe a C and a D, and it dropped down your GPA under 2.0, the upcoming semester, if you plan on coming in the summer or whether it's fall, you will be on financial aid warning. And so that means you will be able to get your financial aid for that particular semester. However, at the end of that semester, we will run SAP again. And then based on the grades that you earn for that particular semester and including the previous semester will determine whether you go on financial aid satisfactory, meaning you will continue to be eligible to receive financial aid, or either it would put you on financial aid suspension, where financial aid has come to a halt. You're no longer eligible to receive financial aid until you could meet the requirements of receiving financial aid. So therefore, once you become on financial aid, 150% max time or either suspension, you will be responsible for your tuition and book charges, and or either have to find another resource or paying for the courses that you want to take.
Quick question.
Sure.
For the students who may not know or are just are not familiar, so I'm a student and I'm just coming off of suspension, or I'm on probation, and I'm looking at my GPA and I'm at a 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did fail a course, or I failed a course the semester prior. I think what I'm trying to get to is there's two GPAs, an academic GPA and a financial aid GPA. Can you expand on that just a little bit as far as the differences?
Sure. Yeah. The financial aid GPA, we calculate the developmental courses like your English developmental courses, math developmental courses. So that's why your GPA is different as far as the financial aid side. And as far as the curriculum side, they don't include the developmental classes. So that's why it's a difference.
Is it true also that the so the the failing grades, right? The prior failing grades
Uh-huh.
not calculated, of course, on the, so say if you course replace, right, and you retake a class, right, that course is no longer calculated. If you receive a better grade in it the second time around, that better grade is going to be calculated in your academic GPA. But
Right.
I mean, and the older the F or the failing grade is not going to be calculated, whereas in financial aid it's still calculated. Is that correct, or am I
It
missing?
is. It is, and I'm glad you did mention that. Yeah, so financial aid office, we calculate every credit hour. And so the curriculum side, they may not calculate classes like that if you take a class to make a better grade. So that is one of the key differences as well. Was that clear enough, y'all?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Do anyone have any questions over the material that I went over so far?
Ms. Gordon,
Yes.
this is Laura. I have students that are a little bit, and it may not be, you might get to it, but I have a couple of students who just like withdrew from their classes, and then all of a sudden they owe money to come back this semester, and they're not understanding why. Is that something that you're gonna touch on?
Yeah, I will get to a point about
Okay.
the withdrawing from courses.
Okay,
Yeah.
because they need to know that.
Yeah, I could speak on a little bit now about it as well. Yeah, so it's critical if you do withdraw from courses or considering withdrawing from courses. Let's say that something happened in your life unexpectedly and you no longer could come to school, and so then you consider withdrawing from your classes. So I would advise you the first thing that you should do if you are receiving financial aid, please come in the financial aid office to see how that will harm you if you was to withdraw from your courses. Because at that moment in time, it depends on whether you're passing the course, failing the course, or you know, withdrawing before the census date. So all that plays a factor in it. And also what plays a factor in it is whether you withdraw from all your classes or are you just withdrawing from 1 or 2 classes. So it's different situations, it'll have a different outcome. So it just depends on when you withdraw, but just keep in mind, anytime you withdraw, it could affect you negatively. So, but if you must do so, then I mean, you can't help it. Life happens, so it's okay. But just reach out, you know, someone in the financial aid office before you do it. As far as the suspension status, students, like I said, if you go on financial aid suspension status, you're no longer eligible for financial aid. But however, like I say, life happens. If you had to withdraw from some classes, maybe a semester, due to falling ill, someone in your family passed away, you took on burdens of, you know, your family, and you no longer was able to come to school, or either maybe your work schedule conflicted with your school schedule. Whatever the case may be, you may be eligible to do a financial aid appeal. So just because I'm saying once you become on suspension, you're no longer eligible for financial aid, I mean, if you have a unforeseen circumstance and you let us know, we can, you know, look at it case by case and determine whether you're eligible to do a financial aid appeal. So, I mean, it's bad when you on suspension, but things happen. So it's okay. We hopefully can get it to where you may be able to get your financial aid back. So just keep that in mind. Students will remain on suspension until SAP is demonstrated. And like I say, the SAP is the Satisfied Academic Policy. And so, and we run that at the end of each semester. So I want to mention that again. So we wait till final grades go in, and we sit in our office and we calculate every student to see whether they go, whether they remain satisfactory. They go on warning, suspension, 150% max time frame. So if you ever have a question about your financial aid SAP status, if you will wait to the end of that semester, then reach out to the financial aid office, and then we can let you know. Maybe I would say 2 business days prior to the last day of the semester would be fine. Students are ineligible for federal and state aid while on financial aid suspension. So like I say, you're no longer eligible for financial aid once you're on suspension, unless you have a or unless you do a financial aid appeal and your appeal was approved by a financial aid specialist. That's the only other way that you could get your financial aid back after being on suspension. Students on financial aid suspension are prohibited from using aid to pay for courses, fees, and books. However, students may pay for charges using his or her own resources. So if you do go on financial aid suspension and you are, you know, determined that you want that degree and you're able to pay out of pocket, I would encourage you to do so. And at the end of the semester, just come in and speak with us and see, we're like, hey, do I meet the requirements yet to get my financial aid back or not? And we'll look at it at the end of each semester for you. Students may appeal or appeal the termination of financial aid by completing an appeal application obtained by the financial aid office. And that's what I was just mentioning about, is if you're eligible to do appeal, you can do so. And we'll look at it, and the appeal committee will review it and determine whether you could get your financial aid back or not. Okay, so withdrawals. Students who withdraw from a class will be calculated as follows. Grades of a WD and a WP do not count towards your GPA. However, grades of a WD and a WP will count towards the calculation of the 67% rule and the 150% max time frame. So grades of a WF will count towards the GPA, the 67% rule, and the 150% rule. All withdrawals will have a negative effect on the student's academic status for federal student aid. So like I said, going back to about when I was speaking about withdrawals, you see how that the WD and the WP will count towards the calculation of that 67% rule and the 150% rule. And then the grades of a WF will count towards the GPA. And so that means that if you withdraw from class at that current time and your instructor put you down as a WD or a WP, meaning you withdraw, but you was passing the class at the time that you withdraw, it doesn't count towards your GPA. It's only the WF that will count towards your GPA and the 150% rule. Yes, was someone about to ask a question? Okay.
Deshanae, do you have a question?
Maybe her audio not working. Cause I did hear something in the my speaker.
I did clear my throat. I don't know if that was it.
Okay, it could have been. All right. So if you do just stop me at X and I wouldn't mind stopping and explaining anything. Repeated coursework is included in the calculations of the GPA rule. So the 67% rule and the 150% rule. So if you have to repeat a course, let's say you made a D and you're trying to make a better grade, a A. You can repeat that course up to 2 times, but no more than 2 times will financial aid pay for you to repeat that course and make a better grade. But however, if you make an F, you got to keep taking it to pass. We will pay for it until you get a passing grade. Repeated coursework, and also I want to mention too the developmental credit hours. You can repeat those. We'll pay for up to 30 credit hours for you to pass those developmental courses. But most students pass them within the max credits that we will pay for it. So, but if you ever run into that, then you can stop by here if you're about to reach your 30th credit hours in developmental courses, and someone here will let you know whether you'll well once you get to hit 30.
I got a question on that.
Uh-huh.
Is does the co-requisite fall in that category, or is it just a transitional course? Courses now.
Also, well, yeah, the co-requisites as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Transfer credits transferred from another college or university are included in the calculation of the 67% rule and 150% rule. Transfer credits do not affect the GPA. Yeah, so courses, because you have to have a C or better anyway, and a C is a 2.0 GPA. So they don't affect your GPA once they get transferred into us. But going back to, because it could affect 150% max time, because we do calculate that. So if you have 40 credit hours that transfer in, your program only require for you to have a minimum of maybe 60 credit hours before you graduate. Then you won't have number 20 credit hours that you could take here before you hit 150% max time. So just keep that in mind too. The more credits you transfer in will be less likely the less that financial aid will pay you for until you graduate within that program. But usually it's enough. You usually have enough time to be able, to graduate after having credit hours transfer in. But a lot of times students that run into that problem is students that have multiple degrees. So if a student have maybe 2 or 3 associate's degrees, those are most likely the students that are running into that problem. But if you just starting out, don't have a degree, then I think you should be fine when it comes to transferring in and reaching 150% max time. All right. So now this is the slide about the developmental courses that I spoke about. Students are allowed to receive aid for developmental coursework not to exceed 30 credit hours. After a student has reached 30 attempted credit hours, developmental coursework will not be included in enrollment status for determined federal and state disbursement. Developmental credits up to 30 are excluded from the maximum time frame calculations. So like I said, we'll pay up to 30 credit hours for you to pass out of the developmental courses. But we won't include it in the 150% max time frame calculations, but it will be calculated with when it comes to your GPA and the 6 to 7% rule though. Enrolling in late starting classes. Students enrolling in late starting classes should be aware that credit hours will not be included in enrollment status for payment until each class begins. If the enrollment status changes when a new class began, the student will be entitled to additional payment of aid. Depending on individual schedules, students may or may not receive all of their aid at the time of the first scheduled disbursement. So this pertains to our mini semester. Like this semester that we're currently in, for example, it started January the 8th. The mini semester started, let me see. Sorry, I think on the 6th.
On the 5th.
On the 5th.
Yeah.
All right. So that's considered the first 8 weeks. And so the second 8 weeks is from the first day of the the mini semester classes start, which was on the 5th. So classes end for the last day, the 8 weeks, they ended on March the 1st. I meant the 4th, I apologize. March the 4th. And then so the mini semester courses start March the 5th. And so that's the break in between the first 8 weeks and the second 8 weeks. So the second 8 weeks consists of March the 5th, and it runs to the end of the last day of the second 8 weeks, and the overall 16 weeks for the whole total of the semester. So the last day of the semester is May the 6th. So that will conclude the first 8 weeks, second 8 weeks, and the overall 16 weeks for the semester. But those mini semesters that's broken down, first 8 weeks and second 8 weeks, this payment could be calculated differently. So students that's for the overall semester, like if you register in 12 credit hours full-time, receiving full-time financial aid, and let's say one of your classes don't start until the mini semester. So that means you only be 9 credit hours that first 8 weeks when we calculate the payment that you're entitled to. So what'll happen, you'll receive 3/4 time award for that first 8 weeks. And so when that second, and also too, I want to mention that your tuition will be deducted out of your overall enrollment for that total semester. So that first 8 weeks, you'll be charged for 12 credit hours. Even though that class haven't started yet in the mini semester, it'll still come out of your financial aid. And so, like I was saying, the 9 credit hours that you in, because of the other 3 credit hours haven't started, and that doesn't start into the mini semester, you'll be considered as 3/4 time. And so you'll get a 3/4 time award of financial aid. And so when the second 8-week course start during the mini semester, you'll be then considered a full-time student. And then you'll receive the less than half time award, which will make the 3/4 time that you already been dispersed and the less than half time. Once that's all added together for the overall semester, you'll been paid your full-time payment. But some students, they receive a refund check. They may receive it like one semester and may not, the first 8 weeks, and may not receive one for the second 8 weeks. And then we have some students that only will see their refund check on the second 8 weeks. So it just all depends. And so what we encourage students to do, if you have any question about your refund amount, is to stop by the financial aid office or give us a call, because every student situation will be different based on how many credit hours they register for that first and second 8 weeks. Do anyone have a question about that? All right, so continuing on. Financial aid enrollment status. Full-time is considered 12 or more credit hours. 3/4 time is 9 to 11 credit hours. Half-time is 6 to 8 credit hours. And less than half-time is 1 to 5 credit hours. And what I have noticed, we used to get more, ask this question more, but now I believe a lot of people is more educated on this question. But we used to always get a question in our office asking, well, I'm only taking one class. Am I eligible for financial aid? Based on if you eligible for the initial payment of a financial aid, determines whether you eligible for the less than half-time amount. So it just depends on whether you eligible for financial, because we have like a chart that is broken down, and it was called the eligible family contribution, but now they changed it to the student aid index. So it's a chart that we have to go by. So based on whether you eligible for financial aid, where you fall at on that chart determines whether you will pay you for just one class, anything under 5 credits. So students, if you only just taking one class, it's okay. Maybe you want to contact us and see if you'll be eligible with financial aid cover just for that one class. But the students can receive financial aid just for taking one class, but it depends on the eligibility that they actually was entitled to, whether financial aid or pay. Because some of them may be eligible in getting financial aid, but they fall in a range where they must be at least half-time in order to get financial aid. So that particular student, if they fall in that range, then they would have to be half-time in order to get financial aid. But a lot of students, the less your income is, household income is, then most likely you'll be eligible for financial aid to cover for just one class. But however, I do want to highlight on the summer semester. So when the summer semester starts, if you was full-time this past fall semester, full-time this spring semester, this summer semester, in order for financial aid to cover for your classes, you have to be at least half-time. And that's only pertains to the summer semester. That's the only different semester where you have to be, half-time if you was full-time in the fall and full-time this spring. But if you was maybe, 11 credit hours, which is the 3/4 time, if you was 11 credit hours last fall semester and you 12 credit hours this semester, that means that you can get financial aid, could pay for just one class for you. You don't have to be half-time. So it's just if you fall in those categories, then you can just reach out to the financial aid office and we'll explain it more in depth for you. All right, so the lifetime eligibility usage, and here we use the acronym LEU. The amount for federal Pell Grant funds a student may receive over his or her lifetime is limited to the equivalent of 6 years of Pell Grant funding. Since the maximum amount of Pell Grant funding a student can receive each year is equal to 100%, the 6-year equivalent is 600%, which is an equivalent to 12 full-time semesters. So, and each semester, if you register for 12 or more credits, that's considered 50%. So if you was 12 credits this past fall, 12 credits this spring semester, that means that you have used 100% of your Pell Grant. And the maximum that you can receive for a lifetime is 600%. So that's why we say 12 full-time semesters is equivalent to the 600% that you can receive for a lifetime, and vice versa. 600% is equivalent to 12 semesters that students can receive financial aid. A student whose LEU is greater than 500% but less than 600% while eligible for Pell Grant for the award year would not be able to receive a full schedule award. And so that comes in when students complete their FAFSA application. We'll get like a notification stating, hey, the student might be, where the student is, I'll take that back, is LEU percentage may be 538.35. So what we have to do in here is calculate the remaining amount that student have for a lifetime, and we'll award that accordingly to whatever the percentage the student LEU is when their ASER come in, which is the financial aid application. But once we get it, it's called a ASER. So once our office receive it, if you close, well, once you hit the 500, go past the 500%, we'll get the notification. Also you'll get a your award letter in the mail will reflect on the amount that you're eligible for that remaining year. Do anyone have a question about that? That I just covered?
I got a somewhat of a question. I don't think it's about the 600%. I think it's more towards the 150%. And like the 600 is the lifetime, correct?
Right.
Now, with the 150, that's more towards, let's say you're here at HCC. Is that correct? Once they graduate, that resets. Is that
It
how
does.
that works?
Yeah. What happened, it doesn't reset completely, because I don't want to tell you that it fully resets. It doesn't. What happens is after a student graduate, and I'm gonna pull out my chart that we use. All right, so let's say a student is in the Associates in Arts program. The maximum amount of credit hours that you can receive in that program that financial aid will pay you for is 90 credit hours. So once you hit, I would say maybe about 80 credit hours, you're gonna get a letter in the mail stating that you're approaching 150% max time frame. So we are going to warn you that, hey, you are approaching 150% max time. So you go on with that semester because you're still eligible to get financial aid, because we just warning you, caution you that you about to hit 150% max time. But after that semester is over and you taking, if you enrolled in 10 or more credit hours for that semester, of course, at the end of that semester, you would reach the 150% max time. However, if you eligible to graduate at the end of that semester as well, then what'll happen, you'll graduate, and you, let's say you decide that, oh, maybe I want a different, degree. So maybe I'm gonna come back to school and maybe get associates in general education. So what'll happen, we'll be able to back off 60 credit hours. So it won't be the total 90 credit hours that will back off your transcript. It'll be just 60 that we can back off, because we have like it's a chart. So that's the minimum and that's the max. Right here is what we can back off on students, and over here is the maximum amount that they can take within that program of study. So it just depends, student graduate, whether they decide to come back on how many credit, and also depends on the program too, because each program, the credit hours are different. Let's say, nursing, they have more credit hours that they need to take to graduate. So it just all depends on that. But yeah, we encourage students to, try to just finish on throughout and graduate in something. And two, I want to point out, a lot of students that's not settled on like the major, that what they want to major, those students, what they'll sometimes find themselves in is they'll, be in a particular program of study, let's say the associates in science, and then they get almost finished, and then maybe they only got 15 more credit hours before they actually get their degree, and then they decide they want to change to human service technology. So that student will probably hit 150% max time, because they already taken, a lot of credit hours, and so they may only be able to get a semester or two that financial aid to pay for.
Okay, and I wanted to know, because you told us what it is when they come back here. What happens with that when they transfer?
Yeah, so when they transfer, the registrar's office, they'll calculate what credits would transfer in. Like I said, it have to be a C or better. So yes, those credits that they did accept to transfer in, they will count towards 150% max time if you was to go to another school.
No, I mean transfer out.
Okay.
when they transfer to a 4-year. See, I was just trying to get
Yeah,
them.
I'm saying that that'll happen is, yeah, if they come here and
Mhm,
want to go to a 4-year,
mhm,
university,
mhm,
the credit hours that they taking here at
mhm,
Halifax Community College,
mhm,
when they transfer out to the
mhm,
university,
mhm,
those credits that they earn of a C, whatever they accept there at that school from us,
mhm.
it would count towards that school 150% max time
Okay.
as well. Because universities, they do have 150% max time rule too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it's
Um,
a federal law. So um community colleges has it and universities as well.
So and then it would also depend on, because if they want to do that and go with their masters, it just kind of continues that way with
Right.
right. I got you. I got you. I just
Yeah.
wanted them to understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So here I have a video that'll give you a more breakdown on the satisfactory academic um progress.
Mhm.
In the following video, we will discuss satisfactory academic progress, the continued path to financial aid success. SAP, also referred to as satisfactory academic progress, is a main factor in your eligibility as a student when receiving financial aid. This video is intended to help you gain an understanding of SAP and why it's important. In this video, you will learn: what is SAP? What are the requirements? What is the SAP process? If your SAP is not in good standing, what can you do? SAP stands for Satisfactory Academic Progress. CCCC's Financial Aid Office is required to evaluate a student's SAP at the end of each semester. Students must maintain a good standing SAP status in order to receive federal and state aid. SAP is measured in 3 different standards: GPA, completion rate, and maximum time frame. We will discuss each of these standards in this video. As mentioned previously, SAP is measured in 3 different standards. The first we will discuss is the grade-based standard. A student must maintain a cumulative 2.0 grade point average to remain eligible for financial aid. A 2.0 GPA is a C average or better. As long as a student earns a C or better in all courses, they won't have to worry about the grade-based standard. The next requirement for SAP is the quantitative measure. You will also hear this called PACE, pass rate, and more often, completion rate. The standards for quantitative measure is that a student must complete a minimum 67% of the total cumulative credit hours attempted. The percentage is calculated by the number of credit hours completed to the number of credit hours attempted. Withdrawing from courses and failing courses will affect the completion rate. This can be the most difficult to understand, so we will explore a few examples. A student was registered for 12 credit hours.
I'm so sorry.
At the end of the semester, the student completes all 12 credit hours. 12 credit hours attempted and 12 credit hours completed means the student has a 100% completion rate. That's
Can
an
you
easy.
turn that up a little bit?
Let's look
Yeah,
at another
hold on.
example. A student was registered for 12 credit hours for the semester and withdraws or fails 2 credit hours by the end of the term, finishing with 10 credit hours completed. To calculate
that
the
okay?
completion rate for this student, you take the 10 hours completed divided by 12 hours attempted.
It's
to
the
get
same.
83% completion rate. 83% is
I turned my
above
volume up on my computer. That
the
helped.
requirement,
I can hear
so
it.
this student is still in good standings. Let's look at one more example. This student was registered for 15 credit hours, but for one reason or another, completed 6 credit hours. 6 credit hours completed divided by 15 hours attempted equals 40% completion rate, which drops the student below the 67% minimum requirement. Not good. 150% maximum time frame. Students must complete an eligible program within a time frame not to exceed 150% of the published program length. Sounds confusing, right? So let's break it down further. For our example, if a student is enrolled in an academic program that is a total of 60 credit hours, to figure the maximum time frame, you would multiply 60 times 150%, which equals 90 credits. Let's try this again. If your academic program is a total of 75 credit hours, to figure the maximum time frame, you would multiply 75 times 150%, which equals 112.5 credit hours. The SAP process. Step 1, students attend class. Step 2, at the end of each semester, grades are submitted and the SAP process is ran by the financial aid office. Step 3, notifications are sent via email notifying students of their current SAP status. The reason understanding and maintaining your progress is so important is because you start out with a SAP status of satisfactory. And if you fail to maintain your progress and fall below the minimum 2.0 financial aid GPA requirement and or a 67% completion rate, you will then be placed on warning. And if by the end of your warning semester, you do not meet the 2.0 cumulative GPA or earn the overall 67% completion rate, your financial aid will be suspended and the financial aid office will no longer be able to provide funding. So unless you have recently come into a lot of extra cash, you may want to stay eligible for financial aid. If your financial aid is suspended, you will have two options to regaining eligibility. One is to pay for the courses out of pocket without the use of financial aid until you can bring your cumulative financial aid GPA back to a 2.0 and your overall completion rate to a 67% or higher. Or if the reason you were placed on suspension was due to extenuating circumstances, you may file an appeal. For further information on the appeal process, please contact the financial aid office.
Okay. So here I prepared a quiz that we all gonna go over. Were you all able to hear that video okay?
I was able to hear it. It was a little low, but I was able to hear it though.
Okay. All right, so the letter SAP stands for,
A. Oh, let me be quiet.
all right, so the letter SAP stands for, the correct answer is C, is satisfactory academic progress. So we always looking at your progress, so that's an easy way to remember that. What is the minimum required GPA needed to remain in good standing with financial aid?
A.
Absolutely, that's the right one. You must have a 2.0 GPA in order to maintain eligible to receive financial aid. Number 3, I must complete a minimum of blank of the cumulative credit hours I attempt in order to meet federal guidelines.
67.
Absolutely. Yep, students have to receive, meet the 6-7% rule in order to be eligible for financial aid. Number 4, over the course of my life, I can receive Pell for blank full-time semesters or 600% of the maximum time frame.
12.
Yep, that's right. 12 full-time semesters, financial aid will pay you for a lifetime. Financial aid will cover up to 150% of credit hours required credits required for me to complete a major. For example, a program of study requires the completion of 65 credit hours for me to graduate. Financial aid will cover up to 97.5 attempted hours. True or false? Right, it's true. Because we'll cover up to 97.5 for the student to receive financial aid. And how we get that is we do 150% times 65 credit hours, which comes out to 97.5. Okay, do anyone have any questions about the presentation? All right, well, thank you for having me. And if y'all have any questions, don't hesitate, reach out to the financial aid office.
Ms. Gordon, we just want to say we appreciate you. You did an excellent job. It was very clear and concise. And I got, you know, I even learned something. I always do when we have financial aid presentations, and I learned something else this year. So I just want to say, and I think to be specific, it was about the developmental limitations. Also being that we switched from, you know, the DMA's, you know, kind of prerequisite to the co-requisite module, or that format, you know, being clear on that, you know, does that include the transitional or the co-requisite, you know, classes in that limitation of the 30 hours. So appreciate that. Yeah, I think you know, I think students hopefully got something out of it. And eval will be going out shortly. And yeah, thank you so much for being here and sharing the information.
And you absolutely welcome.
Okay, if all hearts and minds are clear, have a great day.
Oh,
Thank you. You
person
too.
that's on the iPhone, what is your name?
LaShonda.
I got you down, LaShonda. Who's ever on an iPhone, it just says iPhone.
Oh, okay.
I got you down, LaShonda. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you
I
all.
still don't have that person's name.
Oh, that's not LaShonda?
No, it's not. It says iPhone.
Oh, whoever's on the iPhone, please put your name in.
Christina Copeland. Christina Copeland.
Christina.
Thank you, Christina. I got you down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I am sending out surveys right now. Please check your emails. Please complete these surveys for me. I appreciate y'all.
No
We
problem.
appreciate you too.
Thank you all. Thank you everybody for showing up. This was a great information session, and I love to see all of the participation. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.
You too.
All
Thank
right. Bye-bye.
you.